Do you think that there's any advice you give to someone that's not taking the action now? Something that you could say to say, hey, try it. It might not work, but it's still worth it.
Oh, there's a couple of things that I've lived by through the course of my life. First of all, there is no tomorrow. Everybody always says, the great procrastination line. I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month becomes next year, and before you know it, you're married with 4 kids, and you're an insurance salesman, and you never took a shot at your dream. If you have an idea, do it today. The other big one, and I know this is a very cliche line, but it is incredibly true. Don't be afraid to fail.
What is up, action takers? Welcome back to the After Hours Entrepreneur. I'm really excited to share this interview here with you today that was completed at PodFest. Super fun, point and shoot style. I just posted up at the bottom of a very busy place in the conference hall, and I just started interviewing some awesome people, and I think you're going to be thrilled to hear how these people are turning their passion into profit. Stay tuned, sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get into this episode of the After Hours Entrepreneur. Run the tape.
Johnny, what's up?
How are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm rocking and rolling. It's really good to see you here at PodFest.
I'm here by surprise, but I'm having a very good time meeting a lot of interesting people. Obviously, I've run into you, which is fantastic. I've run into some very good friends of mine, Tyler, and a few other people. I didn't expect to be here. I was invited at the last minute. Thought that I would roll through, and I'm glad I did. Because first of all, I get to be on your show, which is very nice. Or more appropriately, you get to have me on your show.
Well, I appreciate you coming on to share your experience, talk to all the After Hours entrepreneurs out there. Johnny, tell me a little bit about your business. What do you do?
Well, I guess that comes down to which one you're talking about, because over the years, there have been a few. Number one, I've been a professional wrestler my entire life, almost 30 years now. Currently, as I'm starting to wind down in that career, I do own a wrestling promotion now called Universal Championship Wrestling. It is a local Florida promotion on the southwest part of Florida in the Tampa Bay area. Been around for about a year now. We're growing. We're doing great. Looking to do bigger things in the future, but as with all things, start small and grow. Before that, I was an entertainment hospitality consultant. I worked a lot with casinos, hotels, and specifically adult entertainment establishments. And after that, all this is while I've been a professional wrestler, by the way. And after that, in my
mid-30s,
I owned a moderately successful porn company, an adult video production company.
Far out.
Which
while you're a professional
all
wrestler.
While I was a professional wrestler,
So
yes.
This is kind of interesting to me. I'm a huge believer in the power of podcasting, digital media. Everyone should have a show. And the reason for that is because it allows you to generate attention. It gives you an excuse to talk to people. I'm just wondering, is the common denominator for you professional wrestling, do you feel like that has helped you to launch pad your different business opportunities? Or is it just incidental?
That's an actual very interesting question, to be honest with you, because I never actually saw it that way until I started doing these podcasts and started meeting people in this industry who, had said to me that I have this ability to connect with people. And I guess as a pro wrestler, the only place that this ever really occurred to me was when I was in the ring or cutting a promo for wrestling, that I have the gift of gab. I have I don't know what you call it, the it factor, the je ne sais quoi, a little French there. It was Johnny Walker spitting French. And I guess, I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling them about my other businesses that I've done in my life. And they were like, yeah, but it all bleeds together if you think about it. It was my ability to connect people or to bring people together to accomplish these businesses. I've never professed to be, the smartest guy in the world. I'm reasonably intelligent. Obviously, I've got some sort of brains because I have my, the entertainment consulting and in the adult business, I was successful. So I'm not the dumbest guy in the world either. But it was really about my ability to bring people together. I'm a great believer in standing on the shoulders of greatness and calling the mountain my own. So I was able to bring people together that were able to accomplish the goal as a group, especially in the adult industry. The consulting was just more myself because I would get hired to come in and do places. But even then, I had a crew of people. I had bartenders that would retrain bartenders and so forth. But my lack of fear in talking, my lack of fear in being an entertainer, has always given me the confidence to walk into any environment, make it my own, and make it successful.
Dig that. And so that is interesting. If you probably didn't have wrestling, you might not have that confidence that allowed you to make those connections. I do think that all right, so I'm a huge believer in taking action. I think so many people are terrified, can't take the action, or they talk about, I'll take the action tomorrow, next week.
I agree.
So do you think that there's any advice you would give to someone that's not taking the action now? Something that you could say, hey, try it. It might not work, but it's still worth it.
Oh, there's a couple of things that I've lived by through the course of my life. First of all, there is no tomorrow. Everybody always says, the great procrastination line, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month becomes next year, and before you know it, you're married with 4 kids, and you're an insurance salesman, and you never took a shot at your dream.
Yeah.
If you have an idea, do it today. The other big one, and I know this is a very cliche line, but it is incredibly true. Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah. I'm curious, Johnny, was there ever a time in your life where you tried something and you failed, but it ended up turning into a win? Every time.
Give
me an example.
Professional wrestling, the consulting business, the adult industry, you learn through failure.
Yeah.
Your greatest lessons always come from your greatest failures, never your greatest successes. I mean, if you were successful, what did you learn? Nothing. You already knew how to do it right.
Right.
But your greatest lessons on how to be successful come from your failures. And I can give you an example in all 3 industries. As a wrestler, I tried for many years early in my career what characters were going to work best for me. What was my personality going to be? What kind of an attitude was I going to have? And many of my early characters were complete failures. They did not connect with the audience. They didn't work. It just wasn't happening. And I had so many failures early in my career with different ideas and different characters until eventually, through trial and error and understanding and learning the psychology of what people respond to, I developed, obviously, Johnny Walker, and then another character that I have, too, that have become successful. You talk about the consulting industry, which is, to this day, I still believe is one of the most cutthroat industries in the world. There's a very short list of people that were really, really good at it. I was on that list, and all of us that were on the list did not like one another.
How do you think you got on that list? What was it? What was something that you did?
This is one of those times where I talk about I had a gift. I don't attribute it to being more intelligent than the next guy. I don't attribute it to anything. I truly attribute this to I was born with the ability to look at a bar, a nightclub, a restaurant, a hotel, specifically, nightclubs and gentlemen's clubs, and just understand what was going to make them better. Secondly, I'm a very meticulous person. I've always said, and I believe this is true in any business, but it was particularly true in that industry. It is never one big thing that makes anything successful.
Sure.
There's no one great idea, and that's what's going to make your business pop. It is a million little things that makes it run every day or every week or every year. And you have to do those million little things every day. If you have the discipline, if you have the organizational skills, if you have the wherewithal to be able to do this every day, you've already eliminated 90% of what your failure will be. Most businesses, at least in that industry, and throughout my career, I've noticed, tend to fail because of poor management at the upper level. Poor money control, it's the details.
Yeah, the execution.
It's the execution and the execution of the details. Now, that doesn't mean that a great idea doesn't help. Of course it does.
Right.
Everything needs a catch. Everything needs a gimmick. Of course. But that isn't what's going to be the success. That's what gets you on the map. It's your ability to maintain the business, your ability to correct the little problems before they become big problems. And this is very true in everything because everything starts this small.
Yeah.
If you don't fix it, if you don't catch it, if it continues to grow, it will end up being the end of your business.
The Achilles heel.
Today it was $1. Tomorrow it's $2. The next day it's $4. 4 is 8. 8 is 16. So forth and so on until suddenly it's thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars that you've lost. But you lost it in increments that you never noticed, that you didn't pay attention to. But at the end of the year, you're going, well, where the hell did I lose $250,000?
Yeah.
Who the hell wants to lose $250,000 over the course of a year? But you weren't paying attention. And that $250,000 was what you needed to expand, to grow, to advertise. It was the difference between breaking even and making a profit. So it really is that dedication. And success doesn't come from 8-hour workdays either. Success comes from 25-hour workdays. Yes, I said 25. Because as a business owner, you got to find another hour in the day. You know the old saying, there's never enough hours in the day to get done what you have to do when you're a business owner?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, then create more hours somehow.
Yeah.
So it's a 25-hour workday, 8 days a week.
Like it's consistency, too.
Absolutely.
You can't just show up. Really, that's something I struggle with, too. I'll show up really hard one day and the next day I need a day off. But being consistent is super important. And I, you know, Johnny, I really love the point you made about taking action now to prevent wasted money, wasted time. That's basically what my company does when it comes to podcasts, launching podcast promotion, podcast systems is how can we save you as much time as possible while giving you the biggest return on whatever specific goal is. And that's really what I try to focus on. So it's a big part of what we talk about in the mastermind community too. It took me a long time, many of those 25-hour days, dark, dank rooms, editing by myself. Wife wants to know why I'm not in bed yet, but you know, the blood, sweat, and tear, and people don't see that. People see the apex. They see the tip of the iceberg.
It's like anything, you know, people always see the storefront.
Yeah.
You never see the back office. Yeah. You know, you're always going to see the glamour and the glitz. Yeah. You know, I talk about movie stars a lot when we talk about, you know, hard work, and so many people go, oh, I could have been a movie star. And I go, really? Could you? Yeah. And they're like, well, yeah, I mean, look, they just get on there and they do their thing. And I said, yeah, you know that most of them started out doing high school plays or local theater, and then they went on to a college of performing arts. There's a lot, Pace University, one of the greatest arts.
Audition after audition. Yeah.
Then they moved to L.A. and they've got $2 in their pocket and they're working at a Starbucks as a barista because that was the coolest job they could get. Rejection. Little roles that didn't even pay the rent just to get on somebody's radar. And you never see that. What you see is, here's this new blockbuster movie, and this guy's face is on it.
Yeah. So, you know, and I think building a business is right. It's not necessarily about the notoriety. There's something that happens when, like you were mentioning, failure. I mean, there's something, and I think that's almost lost in this new world. We want it now. We don't want that struggle, which is what makes everything. You know, I talked to my daughter. It's the struggle that makes the good things so meaningful. If you were to get cake every single day, a birthday cake every single day, it would just wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter.
That's why birthdays are important. Johnny, why don't you do me a favor? Tell everyone in the audience your name, where they can find you, and why they should be at PodFest.
My name is, if you haven't guessed already, the magnificent Johnny Walker. I am a professional wrestler. I work all around the world, but right now you can specifically find me with my wrestling promotion, UCW Verse, VERSE, UCWverse.com. You can find out more about the company. You can buy tickets to a show. If you're in the local Sarasota, Manatee County area, our next show is June 19th. You can get tickets to a show. You can stop by. And I don't know if all these podcasters stay on my butt. I'm probably going to have a podcast soon, too, because everybody keeps driving me nuts about this, and I feel like I'm getting pushed into this world. But hey, it may happen. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, you don't need to have a podcast, but when you're thinking about it, we can talk. Tell everyone why they should be at PodFest.
I'll tell you what. Here's the great thing about an event like this. You know, the idea, the concept of a PodFest really isn't that new. Talk shows were PodFests, you know, radio shows were PodFests. This is a great thing because it's taken the internet and it's opened up to every man. Every man now has the ability to come up with a great idea, interview people, exchange ideas. PodFest is all about that. PodFest there's so many different vendors here, and there's so many different avenues of things that you can look at, and different products and different people doing podcasts. It's this wonderful explosion of multimedia ideas that is just hopefully going to evolve and take us into the future of whatever's next before I die.
Yeah, lots of connections. Johnny, thank you so much. Rapid fire, you ready?
Go for it.
Favorite animal?
Dolphin.
It's a good one.
You know, very smart, very fun.
I like dolphins.
And I live by the ocean, so I swim them a lot.
Not super common answer, but I agree. Dolphins are amazing. Scariest movie you've ever seen?
Okay, it's twofold because it's funny and scary at the same time. Army of Darkness with Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
I love that movie, but it had some parts that were a little freaky too.
Yeah, classic. If you could sit next to anyone on a plane, who would you want to sit next to?
Wow, there's a tough one. Who would I want to sit next to? Honest to God, people are going to probably not understand this. I would like to sit next to anyone in history who has ever ruled an empire.
Okay.
You know, one of the Caesars, one of the Khans, one of, Charlemagne would be someone that I would love to sit next to on a plane and pick their brain because I find people like that fascinating. You know, these were people who had enough willpower, charisma, and fortitude to lead not just a nation, but empires.
Yeah.
You know, who do you have to be to get that many people to be a part of your world?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, very powerful. If you had the chance to go to space, would you go?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I'd stay there. I would stay there.
Very cool. Johnny, if you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what do you say?
It'll be okay. Just keep going.
I dig that. Johnny, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the After Hours Entrepreneur. So many great people out there taking action. And I love sharing their stories with people just like you. And listen, if you're into podcasting, if you're trying to grow your podcast into something that can actually generate real revenue and real profit, let me help you. Let me help you. That's what I'm here to do. I've been working on this for over 5 years now, and I want to help you turn your podcast into profit. Click the link below and join the Podcast Mastermind community. It is very affordable, and it's designed to help you turn your podcast into money, into cash money. That's what we're going to help you do. So listen, click the link below. Let's connect. Thanks for listening to the After Hours Entrepreneur today, and I'll catch you here next time. Go take action, all right? Peace.